A lot of dentists who have not even considered CAD/CAM are now really looking at 3D printing, whether it's Midas and Pro2.
But when I saw the Pro2, it unlocked so many other workflows for me.
Just a few years ago, when I was looking at technology, it was either go with one manufacturer and be in one system, or it's going to be really hard to piece these things together. But I call it the liberation of CAD.
Midas has changed how I view the dentistry I do, where it inlays and onlays most of the day instead of crowns. We're going to probably see these materials get stronger and stronger much faster because of the way that Midas is actually manufacturing.
You're absolutely right.
What's one thing you've done in the last 6 or 12 months that you've brought in change in the practice? All right, welcome to the Clinical Confessions podcast. My name is Dr. Meena Barsoum. I'm excited to have our guest today, Dr. Shant.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm grateful to be here.
And you're only a few minutes away, right?
Very close by. Practices is less than 10 minutes away from here in Burbank.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So you're no stranger to our headquarters here. You've been a regular kind of supporter of SprintRay. So fill me in on your background and kind of how you got involved with SprintRay here at the company.
Definitely. So my dental education I completed at USC, and I was just a dental student who wanted to finish crown requirements, and you know how those can be difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And at USC, we had the opportunity to use CEREC, old Bluecam. And the way we were able to even do it on a patient is you had to take PVS impressions, pour models of those, scan those, and once two of the toughest pros department heads signed off, you were allowed to scan in the mouth. So I was just looking to complete those requirements.
Yeah.
But when I would show patients this archaic, blue cam, black images taken, patients would gush at it, and it was a wonderful experience for me because I got to do veneer. I finished requirements early.
Mm-hmm.
I did veneer cases with Pascal Monnier. I placed 4 implants in dental school, which is unheard of. I had to make guides with CCAT the old school way.
Wow.
Send it to Germany, and it takes 6 weeks to come. So at that moment, I realized, digital dentistry, even in its early forms, can make the patient experience better. So, and that's been the theme of what I do. Is I started up my practice from scratch, and the goal was leverage digital technology to continue to improve the patient experience. And SprintRay was a no-brainer. The founders of this company were also at USC at the same time, so we knew of each other. I've seen their growth from the Moonray start, and then our practice philosophies almost aligned. So right away, I invested in 3D printing for my practice. My first day of staff, they were trained on how to 3D print.
Oh, wow.
Before mastering billing and basic.
That's awesome.
Basic things. And the team here at SprintRay has also supported me in doing this high-tech digital startup. So it was a very organic way to be involved. I've been testing multiple products with engineers, from resin to hardware to software. It feels like it's home away from home, and I'm here at least once a month doing something fun.
Yeah. I want to dig in on your startup a little bit in a minute, but I want to go back to dental school. So your instructors made you take an impression, pour it up in stone before you were allowed to scan it.
Yep.
So they wouldn't let you scan it. Is scanning irreversible or something? What was the challenge? This is just, it seems so mind-boggling. But I guess that's dental education. I mean, it's...
Yeah. We also had to, as a DDS student, we were not allowed to use a Ivoclar furnace because that was only for the pros residents. So we had to actually use the hybrid blocks for our restoration.
You couldn't fire anything.
You couldn't fire anything. That had to get a lot more. It was difficult to get. So it was always like a Cerasmart or an Dynamic, the hybrid blocks in the market. And even with that, we had to warn patients like this is not the strongest material on the market, and but I could save you an appointment. And again, patients, dental school 5-hour appointments, you could save me one of those.
10
Sign me up.
hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think the school's belief was not to limit you from scanning. They just wanted you to master it away from the patient, so you don't have that pressure. And once you did it twice and poured nice models and really dialed it in, they wanted you to have your restoration, trimmed off the sprue, polished, try in on a model,
Sure.
show your faculty that this is a well-fitting restoration before you were granted the permission to do it all chairside.
But you were eventually able to do it chairside.
Yeah. Once you got the sign-offs, you were able to.
We had to still pour an impression up when you did it same day chairside?
No.
Okay.
You were allowed to, if you were
do it all digital.
All digital.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
nice.
One 5-hour morning appointment for the prep, and then another one for bonding, and you'd get it in
one whole day.
In one whole day.
Wow.
Yeah. What was great is also classmates saw me doing this, and I'm doing it pretty rapidly, so they would start asking, can you change my amalgams? And I have this old composite.
They were your patients.
They were my patients. I don't know why, but
that's awesome.
I got a lot of digital dentistry experience that way.
Yeah. What year was this? What year did you graduate?
I graduated 2017.
2017,
so
okay.
This was happening in 2014, 15-ish.
Right when SprintRay was just starting.
Yeah.
At that point. So.
Yeah, and then so I because I enjoyed placing implants. Now I'm not an all-on X type practice, just simple, extract, socket graft, and can do an immediate, But I wanted a guide, an ability to produce a guide, and the Moonray was doing it faster than anyone in the market. So that stuck with me, that I can make a guide off of a CT and at least go into the implant surgery with a guide to help me. So that was a kind of a spark moment that I knew I need to look at 3D printing really well.
How is your practice now? Tell me a little bit about what you enjoy doing. Then we'll talk about the start. I mean, you mentioned implants, obviously CAD CAM and 3D printing. Walk me through a typical day in your practice.
I'm I say a restorative and cosmetic dentist. So I really enjoy leveraging technology to give really good restorative and cosmetic outcomes. So typical day is a lot of inlay onlay preps. My traditional crown prep is not the circumferential crown we're used to. It's a crown lay, if you will, overlay, and it's leveraging the materials such as whether it's printed or milled, hybrid, composite type materials, and a lot of glass. So I'm a big fan of lithium disilicates. So that's what I'm doing, bread and butter, and also having a lot of cosmetic consultations. I love to take really high quality photography. It's really, even though we're a cosmetic practice, it's not a pressure to push on patients. I take a lot of pictures of patients, listen to them about their cosmetic needs, and then we start with a 2D smile design, and or I might even do an exocad design and do a mock-up from them to really gauge where the patient wants to go. And then once we figure that out, then it's very simple. You have a plethora of materials out there. We can print it, we can mill it, I work with master ceramists very closely. I've spent countless hours in labs because I enjoy the lab work as well. So that's the typical day. And then a good number of implants a couple times a month, where it was a non-restorable tooth I extracted and grafted, or a tooth I placed an implant for right away. I always print a guide with surgical guide 3. I have my CT scan as well. So the practice went all in on all digital right away, and I wanted to make sure that I'm using technology that can easily work with each other. I'm not just locked into one system, mainly because I like all my toys. I have multiple scanners, and I want to be able to jump through them all.
Yeah, I want to go through like the list of the technology at some point. I know you mentioned you went all in
Yeah.
on digital. I mean, I did something very similar in 2010 when I started my practice right out of dental school, and I didn't know anything about running a business but I saw a CEREC demo, and I ended up buying a blue cam and a compact milling unit, and that was like the initial entry into
Wow.
dentistry. There was no such thing as 3D printing or anything at that point. So it was a risk. Obviously, it was scary from an economics perspective. How did you get over that? I mean, you did a scratch startup
In the middle of COVID
in the
too.
middle of, yeah. So you said you graduated in 2017.
2017, I had this goal that I would be a practice owner by 2020.
Okay.
It was, I'm
Yeah.
very goal driven. And 2020 hits, COVID happens. I was looking for practices to acquire and in talks and, pursued multiple practices. But neither was a good fit. So,
Were you working somewhere?
of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're associating, but no options to buy in there or anything.
No,
Okay.
no, none of the associateships
Okay.
I offered a buy-in, and but I got really good experience. Being in LA, I think a lot of talk in dentistry is, oh, it's so hard, it's so competitive, but we have a dense population. You can work for a super high-end cosmetic practice. You can go in the outskirts and find an implant practice or a denture practice. I mean, all sorts of dentistry are available in LA. So I had a wonderful, diverse experience
Yeah.
where it allowed me to see exactly what I wanted. So going back to the practice search, and then good practices where I would find were being bought by groups at that time,
Sure.
with getting multiples on their practices, and something that the solo buyer couldn't do. So good practices were going quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't finding the right opportunity. And then this location came up. I mean, I know you're busy when you come to LA. I would love to have you
Yeah,
and
I'd
show
love
you.
to. Yeah.
It's a small location, but it's a professional new building with no other dentist in there. The building was done in 2017 as well.
Mm-hmm.
The last unit was left that was medically licensed, which is also difficult, just like a city like Chicago, to get
Yeah.
all those.
The
So
zoning and everything. that you could
zoning and
put it,
everything, yeah. So it was a shell, and it
So
had
just like vanilla box walls, like no dental equipment or anything.
not
in
even
it.
vanilla walls. It was just the
Steel.
the steel, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, and the studs,
Yeah.
the framing. So, but it had really nice glass windows facing the Burbank Hills, and I was just like, building a practice here could really work for me.
Mhm.
So, and I still, to this day, a lot of young dentists ask me, do you advise a startup? I say you really got to look at it,
Yeah.
and from so many perspectives. Interest rates were great at that time.
Sure.
Okay,
Right.
so that plays a big role in a startup. And also, I'm from LA. I was born in Baghdad, Armenia, in Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
but I've grown up here. I went to UCLA for undergrad, USC Dental. My whole family's here. My community's here. I knew setting up here, at least initially, I'd have a lot of friends, family, word of mouth referral
Yeah, of
coming to
course.
me. So, the stars aligned, and that's how I jumped in. Basically, because when I was frustrated, not finding the right practice to buy.
Mhm. I love that our stories are so similar, in the sense that it was a very similar story for me. When I graduated dental school, I'm from Ohio originally, so I went to school in Ohio, and then when I moved to Chicago, got married, graduated, I did a year residency until I could figure out what I wanted to do there. Couldn't find a practice to buy, couldn't find like anything that excited me, and I knew I wanted to own.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a similar story. I walked into this professional building that was built in, at that time, 2007,
So,
and there were still a lot of vacant units, but one of them was being built as a dental practice.
okay.
So the developer of this building was a dentist, and he's like, I'll just put some cabinets and plumbing and make it look like a dental office, and somebody will buy it. So I bought it as a shell.
Wow.
So I got like a screaming deal on this shell, space, and you had high windows, I had high ceilings.
There
Like
you
I
go.
walked in, I'm like, oh, these ceilings are so high, this will be great. I didn't do any like market research. I didn't look at the demographics.
Oh, I didn't do that either because
I bought my practice So I live in Chicago. This practice is 30 miles northwest.
Okay.
And I'm like, eventually I'll move to the suburbs. Here I am 15 years later. I still live in the city. It's an hour and a half commute. But, but it was a professional building. And it's interesting because, when you talk to people about doing a startup, they always tell you, okay, you need location, you need visibility, foot traffic, go next to like a, big box store or supermarket so you can get visibility. And you and I are both in professional buildings without street visibility, and it's all online market. So
it is. How
did you start? Like, where did you start marketing, and how did you start filling your chairs?
So, it's I didn't know the background of your practice that way. I've been an admirer of you from digital dentistry side of being a CEREC leader. So it's awesome to hear that we shared those similar stories. Really, I'm just a dentist at the end of the day. I didn't think about marketing. I didn't think about how I'm going to run out of money probably. Confessions of a dentist.
Yep.
I just thought if I do the absolute best dentistry, and hang up my shingle, people will show up. But what happened, I think, is my digital technology and the approach we have right now that we've standardized on how to bring in a new patient and basically make a digital version of them indirectly became the marketing for my practice. Patients would come, and as they're getting scanned, and everyone gets scanned in my practice, and it's streamed on TVs in the ceiling. So a lot of practices have scanners, but they don't communicate that with their patients. So
when you say scan, intraoral scan, CT scan,
intraoral scan, CT scan. If I see potential need for extractions or missing teeth or wisdom teeth, we'll CT scan. But
so basically, you make a digital version of the patient.
Yeah.
Right there in front of them.
Yeah. So one of my operatories is plumbed but not equipped, but it's a photo studio that really gets some nice photography. So if I see the need for any cosmetic dentistry, or they indicate it in their charts, right away we're doing some photography as well. So that experience locally drove a lot of new patients, because patients would go and see their friends and say, oh, my dentist did this, my dentist did that, my previous dentist never did any of that. And I'm a nerd. You can see I can talk technology all day.
This is our life.
Yeah. So, and even the practice layout, like I have my 3D printers sitting in the middle of the floor of the so sometimes patients walk in and they're like, oh, is this a fancy coffee maker? Younger Gen Z patients, because they 3D print and they're on TikTok, they've seen it. So I pushed hard also on social media. I don't really have a big following per se, but it really engaged people locally. Burbank is an area where a lot of studios are based in, so a lot of educated, techie, smart artistic people in the area. So one of my patients came in because he said, my dentist didn't offer same-day crowns. I'm so busy as he has his own company that I need to be seen by you. And this patient to this day will bring his laptop in and stream it to the screen. And he has the manual dexterity to be able to work while I'm working on him.
That's amazing.
And then it was very organic, and I would call it a consistent slow growth, which has been great for me.
And that's scalable, right? You didn't have these big bursts where you couldn't handle new patient load and staff accordingly and scale to it. So what did you start with? So how big is your office? Like, what did you end up building?
1,200 square feet.
Okay.
The nice thing is my compressor and vacuum had to be placed across the hall, because in the building there are certain tenants that can't have noise. So it's very quiet, and there's 4 chairs. 3 are fully equipped now and operational. Each room is equipped with also the DCI chairs, but the reason I like the DCI, let's say over ADEC, DCI had a really nice integration with NSK handpieces and their motors. So every room has the same setup of electric handpieces. Everything is the same. I sat down with a cabinet maker and drew in what I want in each drawer,
Yeah.
and with my assistant, like how the type of setup.
Fully custom then. Yeah.
Fully custom, but it's perfect for each operatory. Every drawer is the same. Makes really easy because, you know, in a small space like 1,200 square feet, storage runs out pretty quickly. So we had to be very strategic in our storage space, and you know, even the workstation computers, I made specific holes that are, you know, it's tucked in very sleek. You don't see them. All wires, everything had to be HDMI in the walls.
Yep.
Everything's connected with data. There's a separate Wi-Fi network for any of the digital equipment that's running on Wi-Fi. Separate Wi-Fi network for patients. Noise canceling headphones. Diode lasers. At the time, the Trios 5 was the newest scanner, so I had a Trios 5.
So is that what you started with? Was a Trio scanner?
Trios 5, and then an Omnicam.
Omnicam, okay.
Because the reason I really got into chairside milling in my practice was because I'm a big fan of lithium disilicates. And I know lithium disilicates actually cost more than a zirconia from a lab. Plus, I was going to have all this time. Might as well make a beautiful lithium disilicate restoration myself in one appointment. So that was the thought process. So older generation MCXLs, Omnicam, Pro 95S, the whole SprintRay setup.
And that was day one.
Day one.
Day one you had, so you had a Trios. And
I had two. So people, you know, older dentists were going crazy. Like,
what were you using the Trios for? I guess more full arch stuff, probably, right?
Full arch,
and
but
the Omni was your quadrants. Yeah.
Trios is really, I would say, sexy for patient presentation. Every patient gets scanned with Trios. You know, leverage all the patient communication tools. Show patients rather than tell them. And the Trios also has, at that time, had the sweetest smile design for 2D case presentation, so I was sold on that. Plan Mecha CBCT.
Okay.
I just wanted a more open workflow. And then CS,
CBCT on day one.
CBCT on day one.
You probably spent more on technology than the build out.
Yep. Yeah.
When you factor all that in, but that's the way you would have to do it. Like if you were to ask me if I was going to build a startup today, it's exactly that. It is all the technology first, and then add chairs as you need them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And at that time, you know, I'm also more conservative. I'm the type usually to not do something like this. I'm the type to, start slow and then add. But what was happening is inflation was looming, and the signs were all there. So I just looked at my interest rate and what I would see happening in 5 years, and prices of everything going up.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I said, would I want the CBCT in 5 years? Yeah, but at that time it might be even harder to get. It's going to cost more. The interest rate on it is going to be more, and you're already going to have an operating practice with operational expenses. So it's even harder probably to swallow that pill at that end.
And then the opportunity cost of not having it for 5 years and not being able to do implantology and, you know, more comprehensive dentistry with it. So absolutely,
and it's coming. And when you do have all the digital toys, as you know, you get even more creative in how you can leverage them in offering really good care for your patients. So yeah, I couldn't have done it without my technology. And
yeah, I love that you're kind of sharing this story, because it's scary for a dentist 30 years in the practice to even just buy a scanner.
Absolutely.
Let alone buy a scanner and printers and a mill and CBCT. But when you look at what that offers you in terms of the ability to deliver more sophisticated dentistry for a different patient base that is expecting that, and also helping them say yes to that dentistry because you've made it convenient. That's the why behind all that investment.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're 4 ops now. You have hygiene, or
for the most part, I do my own hygiene right now, but it's getting to the point where
you need somebody.
I need.
So did you? Because when I started mine, I was working 3 jobs. I was working 6 days a week, 2 days in each office, and I was in my office. I strategically decided I'm going to be in my office on, I think it was Mondays and Tuesdays or something, or maybe Monday and Thursday, just so I can capture weekend emergencies. But I was working 3 different offices, and there were 3 very different offices. So I'm curious if you had to do anything like that when you started up.
Absolutely. So I had 2 associateships, and one of them completely changed management, and it was going, the practice I was at started to go down tremendously.
Is it a DSO or
it was a DSO,
yeah.
and the other one got acquired by a bigger DSO, which almost changed the practice dynamic so much that a lot of patients left. So I thought I had set up myself to at least be doing 3-4 days a week elsewhere to pay the bills, and it quickly turned into not working at any of those places and being full-time at my practice. And even in the midst of all this, with all these overhead dollar amounts adding up and little production, the opportunity of a lifetime came to. One of the biggest cosmetic dentists in the world had an interview with me and offered me to join his practice, but I had to sell. I said, I'll give you 4 days. I just need 2 in my practice, something. I have staff, people relying on me that have left their jobs because they believe.
So this must have been more recent.
Like first month of opening with
wow.
First month of opening.
Offered you a full-time job.
Yeah.
But you'd have to shut your practice down.
Sell it. He said, sell it.
To who?
I know. I'm like,
there's no value yet.
There's no value yet. Figure out, rent it out, do something. I said, I can't do that.
Which is unusual. Was there a geographic?
Yes, it was a geographic issue.
Sure.
And they needed me to be there as much as possible and not be distracted, essentially, which is understandable too.
Of course.
But it was a hard no, but
scary.
Scary.
And you're just starting to see bills come in.
Yeah.
And debt and
bills, payroll, rent, mortgage, and the offer was a nice offer too. You could have just walked into a Ferrari of a cosmetic practice with highly trained staff, top to bottom,
probably in-house ceramics,
everything.
You just prep and walk away.
Basically, not even have to make my own temps. So
sounds like a Michael Appa style practice.
Definitely that type of style practice. Awesome. So, but looking back at it, I can say I learned a lot from just honing down and swallowing the pill, because also when there were slow days and the days I planned to be an associate elsewhere, I instead of getting upset, I would really try to focus myself and say, you know what, get your staff together. We're going to practice 3D printing. We're going to practice stain and glazing. We're going to practice something. We always did that as a team, and it really made us way better, because now we're fully booked, almost a month out with good patients. We don't really have time to play, so it's good, because if I need something printed and I've got a family, I'm busy at home too, so I could queue up something on Rayware Cloud. My team, when they're in before me, just let them know, hey, we need this printed for today. It's a nice place to be in right now, definitely.
Yeah, when you're early in the practice, it's an interesting thing. We have plenty of time to work on the practice, because you have chair time. You're not busy, so you get creative with your marketing, you get creative with your coaching and your training, and then all of a sudden you get busy in the practice, and now you're just working in the practice, and it's an interesting place to be, because then you can become easily complacent and say, okay, yeah, we're busy, we're making money, that we're seeing a lot of patients, I'm using all our technology, I don't need to change anything. But you've gotten to that point, and you're probably changing things even today. So
absolutely.
What's one thing you've done in the last 6 or 12 months that you've brought in that's been a kind of a change in the practice that has impacted how you deliver that kind of dentistry?
Well, even though I'm happy-ish, I'm never happy. That's the thing. So
happy, not satisfied.
Not satisfied.
Sure,
yeah. Not satisfied. So I'm still pushing all the time. Recently, we also added a Medit scanner, i900C, because we're just doing so much. I use that kind of to be my chair-side restorative scanner.
So you have a Medit scanner, Trios,
and then an Omnicam. Yeah.
Okay, so you have one scanner per operatory,
printing with Midas. Oh, we also added Midas last
Sure.
year. So Medit for scanning any quick restorative, Omnicam for milling, Trios for new patients because it's wireless and it can be taken from any room to room. And the Medit we also use for, let's say patients had their new patient scan and we need to do a different scan for something else. We also leverage Medit for that. But off the top of my head, I can't think of something we've changed that much, but we're constantly adding more to the practice and doing more. I think more so what's come about, I would say, in the last year and a half, 2 years, is I've gotten to lecture a lot more.
Oh, good.
A lot of study clubs or academic groups or symposiums have been asking me to really talk about this, which is how to really leverage the best in digital dentistry now to make it profitable and functional for the daily practice. And so about a couple times a month, or at least once a month, I'll have one lecture.
That's great.
And the my role with helping out here and doing a lot of testing has also progressed with other manufacturers. I'm fortunate enough I get to play and test products for multiple manufacturers, speak for them, speak with their head of their research and provide feedback. So I would say that's a sidearm of the practice, and that's been difficult. Not difficult, it's a challenge to manage while you're busy. And also, I like to say, although I'm restorative and a cosmetic dentist, it's almost like there's a restorative practice that's running within a small cosmetic practice in it. So what I've done is practice is open 4 days clinically, but when we get big cosmetic cases, we fit that in on a non-regular day because it allows me to really focus on that. So yeah, it's just managing multiple things at once.
The speaking can be fun, but can also be demanding on a young practice, because taking you out of the practice and not producing in the practice to go do a lecture somewhere or travel can be a burden on the practice. And especially like when I started speaking, I was doing stuff for free just to make sure just to get rhythm and cadence. It was never anything I thought I'd be doing is public speaking or lecturing. So you end up kind of taking a sacrifice in terms of going out to lecture and speak. So that must be a challenge on the practice. But the benefit of it is, the engagement you can get from young dentists that can, and you're a young dentist. Like,
of course.
I mean, people seeing you take this risk and make these investments and execute on those investments and actually show the end result, which is a healthy practice, but also beautiful dentistry that you're delivering. It's worth it, right? When you're out there and sharing that story.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to connect with my peers, and because I'm on the younger side of my career, a lot of the super young dentists who are new grads are not shy to ask me things like, hey, can you really explain bonding, or how to treat a composite material versus a glass, and how and it's been wonderful giving back because I asked all those questions too, and that's how I've come up, and then it even somehow ends up getting patients in the door. You lecture down an hour away. The doctor who had me there has a patient moving nearby, they refer. So it's been been an endless refer. And also because I've managed to really control the practice and scale it in the way I want to scale it. Let's say I have to not be there a certain day, we can easily shuffle things around or make it work for the practice as well.
Let's talk a little bit about Midas, because that was something you brought in. So you probably had it for 7-8 months, a year maybe. When it first launched. So, when you look at Midas as a solution, that must have shifted things for you quite a bit, because your only like restorative manufacturing was probably your MCXL. And you're doing lithium disilicate. So, and the way I view Midas today with the current material stack that we have is it's a very complementary product to chairside milling. So Fill me in and take the tech nerd side out of it, because that's what you and I are, like something cool, I'm going to buy it and bring it in.
Yeah.
Walk me through the clinical decision tree of how you see a patient, you decide we're going to additively manufacture this in Midas with a press, or we're going to mill this out of a lithium disilicate or some other material. Like what's your decision tree?
Well, for me, it was, doing so many inlays and onlays prior with milling. We've all run into the issue of doing an MOD or inlay, and then if your minimum thickness wasn't perfect for milling, that restoration would get broken up in the mill multiple times, and it's a headache. So for me, it was clear as day when Midas was introduced how it would be feasible for my practice. The interesting story is the Pro2 commercial was shot in my office.
Oh, nice.
And Hossein was there. Love him, and I'm like, this is cool. This is the Pro2. It's being shot here. He's like, but come here. I'm going to show you something. So I'm like, what?
What else could there be?
What else could there be? So there was hints at it too, because SprintRay technology is so good at tracking everything. So Amir was in the practice one day, and he was like, why aren't you using crown kit to print more crowns? And I was like, look at this lithium disilicate. I can polish it so easily. The ceramic crown is really tricky to work with. So this was 22 around that time. And then he took out a bag, and it had all these restorations in there, and he said, polish this. I kid you not, that felt like glass, like pure glass. I'm like, what is this? He said, this is printed, and it will be available. You'll just need a different printing platform. No idea what that was at the time, and it stayed in the back of my mind. So when I saw Midas, I was, okay, I know what this thing is capable. It's not even about milling versus printing, because, and at this point I have so much technology that I could see the use of everything, you know. We are in LA, and people love bright, beautiful smiles. I do a lot of composite veneers. I get a lot of young patients.
Like you hand.
I'll do it. Yeah. So I will.
Even with Midas in the office, you'll still do a direct.
Well, I mean, now I do it with Midas, but with prior, I did
Yeah.
so much additive composite dentistry for these smile makeovers, and it's really for the young patients that my practice draws. And to prep their teeth for veneers, porcelain veneers, doesn't make sense. And so and also they usually don't have the budget for that big case, so the composite is a really good solution in my practice. So then that was okay, we could streamline my composite veneers or bonding, so that was also a no-brainer. And so adding Midas didn't really seem that much. And also I was printing interim restorations and a bunch of things with my Pro 95S and crown kit, like I have a case I regularly show in my lectures. I had scanned the patient. He had severe periodontal disease. He's not ready for full mouth extractions, and his son, who had brought him to my practice, calls me up on Sunday, and he's like, my dad's number 8 flew out because it's periodontally involved. He's going to Mexico to walk my niece down the aisle, what can you do? So have the scan virtually extracted in CAD software, copy mirror, a wing out of ceramic crown, stain and glaze it, bond it with a resin cement, and then he went away for like 2.5 years, and I thought that thing broke off for sure. He showed up in my practice, and now 9 fell out, and he still had the bonded ceramic crown in his hand.
And it looked good.
And it looked fine. It looked fine. I mean, he has a low lip line. It wasn't the high stick line. He said, you saved me on that wedding, and then now we're getting ready for an all-on-X big case for him. But so this was an early gen of ceramic crown and crown kit. So I saw the need for it. That type of thing, unfortunately, with the CEREC mill is not, unless you have in-lab CAD, CAM, and you have
5-axis
software to do. And also, I think if you're doing something like that, that's, let's say, not the most profitable for a practice. You're just doing it to help out a patient.
right.
Does it make sense to mill it out of a 5-axis? I mean, if you
Yeah,
have it,
sure,
sure, but
sure.
to get a 5-axis
Yeah.
mill for these types of things,
Yeah.
my point is I saw the need for printed
Mm-hmm.
restoratives, and a solution like Midas was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, my journey back into SprintRay was about a year ago, when the Pro 2 and the Midas were launched, and you know, for years I had a Pro 95. That was my first printer. Not my first printer, but my first SprintRay printer, and it was fine for models and surgical guides and things. And you know, I was very critical of that crown kit because the ceramic content wasn't high enough. It wasn't really like a highly filled resin like we have today, but it worked. And like your example there shows that it worked. But when I saw the Pro 2, and that was my first entry back into SprintRay, because it unlocked so many other workflows for me. To be able to do like all on X provisionals in 20 minutes, and even the way I was using other printers, it would take so long to print a set of provisionals when I was doing a smile makeover and I wanted to, you know, not deliver it same day and put them in temps. I don't want to do like these traditional stuck down temps that are analog. I want to actually manufacture prototypes of my design. So when I saw that I could print temps in like 15 minutes, I was like, oh, this is a big deal. So I bought it just for temps. And I started playing around with the Onyx resin. I didn't know what resins to buy because I was out of the game for a while with SprintRay. And then I'm realizing, oh, you can't put alcohol on it because it makes it all chalky and white. And so I started learning. And then when I saw the Midas and I saw the workflow of the Midas, I'm like, this is the thing. It's not, I mean, Pro 2 is great, but Midas is changing how I'm going to deliver this partial coverage dentistry, because I'll tell you, like, this is called clinical confessions. For 15 years of my career, everybody was getting like full coverage crowns, or, you know, when zirconia came out, it was all zirconia. And it changes how you treat patients because you're thinking, well, I need to put a material that's going to last for 30 years or 20 years or however long. And, you know, in my mind, when I start thinking about restorative success, and I talk about this a lot, is, you know, how do we define restorative success? Is it how long a material lasts in the mouth? Is it how long we maintain enamel?
The tooth?
Tooth structure, how long we maintain a vital tooth. And a lot of that means now we can do partial coverage that yes, we could mill it, but like you mentioned, there were challenges there. So Midas has changed how I view the dentistry I do, where it's inlays and onlays most of the day instead of crowns. And yes, people still get crowns, and they need crowns and for certain indications, but you know, I'm milling and printing about 50-50 in the day right now. And that's me and all three of our doctors. So it's really changed how we deliver this type of adhesive dentistry.
Yeah, and you know, it also, another thing that really struck with me was when Haas was showing me that you have multiple capsules, so you can do. I went and got another MCXL, by the way, just because, so I could do 2 units.
Yeah, it was another 40 or 50 grand for another mill.
I'm not a fast dentist, if you will.
Sure.
So then, if you have to wait for the mill too, that's going to slow me down. So when I saw multiple units, it was like, okay, now you can easily do a quad of partial coverage, and that's what now we're teaching a lot of dentists. You know, you could just prep, outsource design to your staff, and have them manage that while you can go to another chair, do something else, come back and bond the restorations in, and then it's been a no-brainer. You know, the HT resin is beautiful.
It's really nice. Yeah.
It polishes well too. So I have cases now on 8 months recall. It's still looking really good. So
That's great.
We're
gonna probably see these materials get stronger and stronger much faster because of the way that Midas is actually manufacturing. One interesting story, one of my best friends in the world has a practice in South Carolina. We've been friends our whole career, and he was also a big CEREC user, big mills. He's got a monster practice down there. He just got an entire SprintRay setup. As of last week, it all got delivered. So he got Pro 2, Midas, NanoCure. He got a ProCure 2, all the washes. Like, he got everything. And Tuesday, he's blowing me up all day. It's his first day, like, using Midas. And he had a Maryland Bridge patient that needed a Maryland Bridge. And he's like, what shade should I use? Show me a picture. I'm like, yeah, maybe A1, maybe A2. So I'm like, why don't you just print both? He's like, you could do that. So he copied the file from one platform from the square to the triangle, put 2 capsules in, printed them both at the same time, and let the patient choose which shade matched better. And it took no additional time. And that was, in his mind, that was like, that's the big wow moment for me, is I can now print multiple units at the same time. I did a 8-unit veneer case on another dentist recently. All 8 units were printed at the same time on 3 capsules in 8 minutes. And that's, the power of being able to print in a DLP fashion like we do on Midas, and not have to worry about having 8 mills to do all that. So it was eye-opening to hear others kind of, feeling that excitement, who, are just getting into the technology, but also seasoned CAD/CAM users.
Just the copy paste. I've had that moment too. The fact that when I've been able to copy paste something on a platform coming from other softwares where it's like export out, just to duplicate something was so difficult. That feature in itself is so great. But a lot of dentists too, I've experienced now, who have not even considered CAD/CAM, are now really looking at 3D printing, whether it's Midas and Pro 2, because the barrier to entry is so much lower than a very expensive chairside mill that might not make sense for most practices, who are getting zirconia for a very affordable price, if you will.
So when you look at like how we could deliver same-day dentistry or digital dentistry today, you could do a lot more conservative partial coverage dentistry that you're manufacturing in-house, and soon with our higher filled materials, I will have no problem doing full coverage crowns with some of these new materials. But to be fair, also, like if you want to mill, milling with a 5-axis mill is going to give you a much better fit than a 4-axis mill. So maybe the practice of the future looks like multiple Midas printers, Pro 2 printers, and then maybe a 5-axis mill, right? And then you start leveraging software, and that's where I think the chaos in the market is right now, is like, what software do I need? Do I get, Ceric and I can't export anything, or InLab or ExoCAD, and I got to learn this whole new language with ExoCAD, but then I'm looking at all the AI software out there, and it's crazy what's happening with AI, and I'm just sitting back watching, and like, this is, as a consumer of AI software, even though we're dentists, we're still the consumer, we're the end user of that software. Let's let everybody come out with the best AI software for us. And selfishly, I hope SprintRay has the best software out there, but I want more people to be able to use Midas.
Absolutely.
And if that means using, 3Shapes AI software to print on Midas, so be it. Let's do that, and let's see if theirs is better than our team gets better with their software. And I think that's the rising tide that's going to lift all ships, is how quickly we can get AI and cloud-based CAD software out to the masses, because that's always been the pain point. Teaching dentists how to run CAD software is I made a career out of it. That's what I did at teaching Ceric for 15 years. So, but it's not the same anymore, because I think so much automation now has made it simple.
You're absolutely right. And the reason I say that, just a few years ago when I was looking at technology for my startup, it was either go with one manufacturer and be in one system, or it's going to be really hard to piece these things together. But I call it the liberation of CAD, because so many players have come in and made it very accessible to dentists. AI Studio, that's what I've been working on with Mark really closely over the last year. In just a year, it's doing leaps and bounds of what other software has done, and the roadmap for where it's going. I know that's really exciting. Other software, Medic Clinic CAD, has come a long way. For a dentist who's just looking to design some restorations, get a feel for it, you could do it now without.
Is it still free? Because Medit was free for a while, right?
I think it's about $3-4 per restoration export.
Okay, export.
Or you get a monthly subscription, around $30-something, which is still
that's nothing.
That's nothing if you want to just play around with CAD, see if your staff member is up for designing these things. It's not only buying the $12,000, the $20,000 software, and now we have to do everything this way. So that's been exciting to see for me, because I get to a lot of dentists ask me, what can I use? And it's like, get a Midas, you get studio with it right away to play with.
Yep.
So
Shant, one thing, like leaving our guests with a pearl, right? And this is, we have guests that, or not guests, we have listeners that are, brand new out of school, and we have some seasoned listeners to the podcast. Give us, one pearl to take away as somebody who has gone through this digital journey from the very beginning, did a scratch startup and a, competitive time in the market. Like, what's one piece of advice you would give somebody new into this ecosystem?
My best piece of advice is always be curious to learn, because there is so much to learn in this industry, or any industry for that matter. And in your learning, this is going to sound very cliche, be really true to who you are. Because if you stick to your core values and what you're about, you'll be able to create something unique for yourself, and that'll gravitate the right patients, the right people, the right companies, the right manufacturers around you for you to be able to thrive. So very cliche, keep learning and stay true to yourself, but
yeah, but it's, it's great advice, because honestly, we as dentists get so emotional about what we believe in, and materials and bonding and like all this stuff that we do, and we attack each other.
Absolutely.
And dentists are the first to point fingers at each other and throw each other under the bus. And I think what you're saying in terms of being open-minded and always willing to learn is learn not only from the manufacturers and the educational facilities, but from your peers. Like we need to grow our profession in a positive way where we each build each other up and make each other better. And I think that is a bigger conversation for another time, but it's definitely like great to hear you give that feedback and that advice, because that's really what we're here for. So
absolutely.
Well, Shant, you've been amazing. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to come see the practice and see those big windows. So I'll make some time next time I'm out.
We'll be happy to have you, Nima.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.